It was rape, abuse and violence on an industrial scale.
Gang raped, trafficked for sex to other northern towns and cities. 1,400 victims at a conservative estimate.
But it was betrayal by the state on a catastrophic scale too.
Social services looked the other way and police ignored it.
What the grooming gangs have done to my daughter, you know, she should be at university now and she's not. She's quite unwell. She'll never ever have the opportunities I had and yourselves. It really needs to change.
My son's no longer here. How many other victims/survivors are not here to see the justice?
The government had an opportunity to do something that no one else has ever done. They could have brought justice to thousands of people. I got nowhere, so then I ended up having to resign.
A father, a mother and a survivor, all in their own way victims of a grooming scandal that's gone on for decades. Today they sat alongside the Conservative leader as she promised to break the deadlock over government plans for a national inquiry.
Survivors have been consistently let down. They need politicians now to show courage to stand with them. This press conference today is not about me or about any political party. It is about giving a voice to those people who have been voiceless.
She laid out a set of terms of reference she believes could jumpstart the stalled inquiry. It should be judge-led, conclude within 2 years, and must look at any networks, including religious or ethnic links.
That a national inquiry must leave no stone unturned.
Fiona Goddard has campaigned for years for public scrutiny of how she and so many others were so badly let down by authorities. She was raped and trafficked as a teenager in care. Initially on a panel of survivors for the government, she told us why she was now backing the Tory plan instead.
It's trying to do something to get some progress going, get some action, get some movement on something that's so important. It has stolen years of my life already since I was 13-year-old, and I'm 32 now. That's nearly 20 years.
All sides have been accused of playing politics with the lives of survivors like Fiona, but her criticism is fiercest for the government.
I'm not going to doubt that the Conservatives have something to gain from working alongside me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's exploitation, as long as I'm also being given a platform to voice my own opinions, or I'm being respected, or I'm being listened to, and that is the difference. The Labour government are not respecting me and they're not listening to me. I'm quite happy to sit and talk when I'm getting a mutual level of respect, rather than being treated as though I'm unimportant or smaller than.
And that's what you felt with the Labour government?
Yeah, because I didn't feel like I was getting listened to. I felt like I was getting gaslit and I felt like I was getting manipulated.
Oldham is just one of many towns and cities across the country scarred by the grooming and abuse of children. It was the first promised support and funding for an independent local inquiry by the government back in January. But now that process has stalled too, caught up in the wider problems, frustrating Lucia Rea, who travelled to London from Oldham today.
This silence, this lack of action, it's literally making people poorly.
And what do you make of that?
It's just riddled with incompetence. I've got no other word for it. You have to force the hand on everything. They're not being proactive, they've been very reactive to people's screams. So there's reactions and there's not a plan. All we want is a plan. The survivors want a timeline, they want to know what's happening, and they want to see a clear route through to this inquiry.
Kemi Badenoch insisted today her plan offers that way through, putting politics aside and the needs of survivors to the fore. But some interpret it differently.
Tit-for-tat politics, where one party is criticising the other party for failure to act, is not helpful, and actually just makes survivors feel as though they're just being let down again, because the focus is on what the Conservative or the Labour Party has or hasn't done, and actually they need to be working together to make some changes.
The Home Office told us its inquiry will be robust, rigorous and laser focused on grooming gangs, and the scope will not change. It It will oversee local investigations with the power to compel witnesses, and it will explicitly examine the background, ethnicity, religion and culture of offenders. They say their terms of reference will set out a clear framework in consultation with victims and survivors.
Well, earlier, Jackie Long sat down with Kemi Badenoch and asked when she had decided the issue of grooming gangs attacking children was important.
It's always been really important. When I was in government, this was something that I was concerned about, but there was an inquiry that was going on, which I thought would bring out a lot of information and help us to sort this out.
The thing is, you've been in Parliament for 8 years. There's no record, I looked all weekend, of you raising it until January this year specifically.
That's not true. I actually raised it during the leadership contest last year. But the point I was making is that this is something which there was an inquiry. We didn't need to raise it. We thought the inquiry was dealing with it. And when it came out, we saw that more needed to be done. That's why the previous Conservative government set up the Grooming Gangs Task Force. But remember also, I was business secretary. I wasn't in the Home Office. This was a Home Office issue. But that doesn't mean...
You were Children's Minister and you said nothing in Parliament.
Yes,
you were Minister for Women and Equalities and you said nothing in Parliament.
I'm sorry.
About the issue of children and women being raped.
I'm sorry, I'm not on trial here. I was Children's Minister for 2 months while on maternity leave. So that doesn't count. And this was not the remit there. There were other issues around children in social care which I dealt with. I think I spoke in Parliament once as Children's Minister. So if I may, I know that lots of people want to try and make this about me. This has got nothing to do with me. This is about the victims and the survivors.
The question is, there wasn't enough work done, was there? You were Minister for Women and Equalities. You have talked about rape on an industrial scale. The vast majority of victims are women. You have said that it was white working class girls who were targeted.
Yes.
There's your equalities issue. I'm just curious as to why this was not more of an issue for you.
If there's an inquiry in another department that's looking at it, then that's what's happening. And of course, it wasn't until after the inquiry that we discovered this. Things were done post that, the Grooming Gangs Task Force, asking why I, as business secretary, remember the Equalities Minister was a secondary role. There was a lot that I was doing on puberty blockers, stopping children from being sterilised at a young age. There was so much that I did on race as an issue, the Commission on Race and Ethnic Disparities. So please, I'm not going to take any lectures from people who want to pretend that I didn't do enough. I did every single thing I could within my power to help women, children, and those of an ethnic minority background.
As you say, it was rape on an industrial scale.
Yes, but this was something
we've known about since 2010.
Thank you. This was something that had an inquiry, and the details of the inquiry came out. We did what we could. I have said it wasn't enough. Even before I became leader of the opposition, I spoke about it. But what I'm not going to do is what you're doing, which is trying to make this about me. You have not spoken once about those survivors who are sitting outside this room who have come to me asking for help. I think that that is a shame. This is what happens. Whenever young people, vulnerable people, women, have an issue, it then starts to turn into a political point. I am here to make sure that those girls get justice, and I will not be put on trial for something which I am speaking about. And right now, I am the only senior politician who is actually raising this issue again and again.
I have spoken to many, many victims over the last 20 years, and they have heard promises before. Why will this be different?
Thank you. 20 years ago, I was at university. 5 years ago, I was a minister for children, helping those in social care. Now I'm leader of the opposition. And I'm saying that I'm somebody who has always stood up for women and girls. They can see what I did, making sure that we stopped what the Scottish government was doing with Section 35. I stand by my word. I do what I say. So people can trust me on my record. But this needs to be dealt with by the Labour government. Conservatives, I know you may have missed it, Conservatives are not in government anymore. What is the Labour government doing?
They were in government for 15
years. Yes, and I've told you what we did do.
Successive governments have failed. We agree with that,
successive governments have done things that have not been enough. An inquiry was put out, the ICSO inquiry, the one done by Alexis J. We saw that not enough was done. We set up a grooming gangs task force. The previous government is gone now. What can we do today?
Okay,
That's what we need to deal with.
It's important that survivors are not given false hope, because they've been given false hope many times before.
And that's what I'm trying to do. I want to make sure that we do right by them.
Absolutely.
I can't speak for previous governments. I've said what I did, But right now, what can we do
You
today?
say you
we need a
expect-
terms of reference
Yes.
for a national inquiry.
You have said you expect the inquiry to conclude within 2 years. How many judge-led inquiries have concluded within 2 years? Grenfell took 7 years, Infected Blood 7 years, Manchester Arena 5 years, ICSA 7 years, with many of the recommendations still not in place.
That is why we have put out a terms of reference, which we think can be done in 2 years. Many of those inquiries were not time limited. If you don't time limit it, then it'll take as long as it takes. The other thing we're saying is that it must be judge-led. That could be a retired judge. It must be something that happens concurrently with legal proceedings. This can be done.
There's a way of saying to government now, let's really put the survivors here first. Let's stop the attacks and the criticism, let's work together. Do you want to say that to government?
This is something that I've already said to government, but they're not doing anything. So what I want to make sure is that those survivors who I'm speaking with today have someone who is speaking for them. I am making sure that their voices are heard. And anyone who wants to get this issue sorted to make sure we do right by a lot of women and children who have been let down by the state, let's work together.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.